Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. We have a jam-packed show for you all, as we had quite a bit happening in the world of Southern California sports, such as the Chargers and the Rams getting done with their NFL draft. Did the Chargers have some home run picks? And did the Rams have some sneaky good picks as well? We'll find out. And how about the Angels? They're actually getting it together. However, can they keep it up? That's the million-dollar question. And the Dodgers swept away the Giants, as that's always a big feather in their cap. And how about Angel City FC and Wave FC? You thought I would forget about those two teams from Southern California. Nah, the NWSL is in good hands with those two teams. And in the MLS, LAFC and the LA Galaxy are still having a great start to their season. Plus, we have the Dum Dum of the Week award. All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you very much for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon. I know I've been busy for the most part, but I am here now for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let's get on into the Southern California goodness that we call sports. But first and foremost, we have a word from our sponsor. IE Sports Radio is proud to call the Southern California Warriors the official sponsor of IE Sports Radio. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organization. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to try out for professional teams, or just playing to stay in shape, or they're playing to just try out for colleges as well. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get the second chance you have been waiting for as an athlete. You can follow them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, on Instagram at Southern California_Warriors, and on Facebook by typing the word Southern California, then Warriors. IE Sports Radio is available on Twitter and on Instagram at IE Sports Radio, and on Facebook by typing in the word IE, then Sports, then Radio. They also have a website, www.iesportsradio.com, and when you go there, you will see a Patreon link which starts out at $5 a month. This will get you a shout-out from all 31, soon to be 32, of our shows. And higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to IESRU, the podcasting university of IE Sports Radio, and even a chance to be featured on IE Sports Radio's flagship show, The Defining Moment with Larry B. Because for the past 7.5 years, soon to be coming up on 8 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we have been by the fans and for the fans, and with your help, we are ready to take the next biggest step. Thank you, everyone, for your contribution and for helping make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. We have to give a shout out to our new fan of the month for May, Justin Ekstrom. His Twitter is at @desportscrib. I think it's at @desportscrib44. He is one of my followers, actually. I need to at @thesportscrib21, and he is actually one of my followers. I need to interact with him more, but he's a down-to-earth guy. He's a Minnesota Vikings fan, and he deserves to be fan of the month, and I need to interact with him more. That's got to be my goal. And we also have to give a congratulations to Mike Pat, the host of Let's Whine About Sports, for winning the 2022 IE Sports Radio NFL Mock Draft Challenge. Congratulations, sir. You can check him out every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. 80 was just on with Larry B, recapping the NFL Draft on a special edition of 3 and Out. And then also we have to give a shout out to our Patreon supporters. We actually have a new Patreon supporter, which we're going to need to get the information about sooner rather than later. But big shout out to Bay Area Raised Apparel and Marcus Listgreat for being IE Sports Radio Patreon supporters. And IE Sports Radio turns 8 years old this month. And 1 week from tomorrow, IE Sports Radio is going to be hosting a special 3-hour edition of The Defining Moment on May 14th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Come hang out with your favorite IE Sports Radio personalities, such as myself, and with the host and founder of IE Sports Radio, Larry B. And once again, thank you for helping make IE Sports Radio what it is. So now, without any further delay, let's get on into that Southern California sports goodness. So I'm actually going to kick off the show a little bit differently. So for those of you wondering where I have been, last week, I kind of missed last week's show. I had to do it not this past Sunday, but the following Sunday, just because I was out of town with my brother in Dallas-Fort Worth. He actually lives in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and it's obviously a great area. I liked where he lived, and the Fort Worth area is awesome sauce. The Dallas area is also good, but I kind of describe the Dallas area, and this is no knock to Dallas. I think it's great seeing the American Airlines Arena and whatnot, but I kind of describe Dallas as the Los Angeles area. It's just so cramped into one, and a lot is going on, and I'm not going to get into what goes on in the Dallas area, but it's still good. I like Dallas. Like, if I were to live right by the American Airlines Arena, then so be it. If I were to work for if I were to cover the Dallas Mavericks or the Dallas Stars or any of that sort, then boy howdy, I would totally be fine with living in the Dallas area. But I just think Fort Worth is much more beautiful, much more spread out. Where my brother lives is Bedford, and it's pretty spacious there, honestly. I'm not going to give out the full details on where he lives, but I like it. I saw a lot of monuments, and honestly, I got to see the stockyards as well, so that's kind of my little tidbit there. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see a majority of the draft. I got to see the Chargers pick of the draft. I didn't get to see the Rams pick. I didn't get to see day 2 and day 3, which is a bummer, but it's all good. I got to see the Chargers picks and the Rams picks. And that's actually a perfect segue going into our first topic, the NFL draft involving the Chargers and the Rams. So the Chargers had themselves a solid draft, in my opinion. I thought they had themselves a pretty good draft, in my honest opinion, and I feel it was good despite them not having a second-round pick. They traded Khalil Mack for their second-round pick, which honestly isn't bad. So their first pick was Zion Johnson, a guard out of Boston College. They used the 17th pick on Zion Johnson, which I think that was a pretty good pick. They needed to beef up their O-line to keep Justin Herbert clean. And they're already beefing up with Rashawn Slater. They got rid of Brian Bulaga, which they needed to fill that void, and they did. And then they also have Corey Lindsley, and then I think they have a few other pieces. I'm kind of blanking on their names, but they are really building that O-line. They're making sure Justin Herbert does not get sacked, because the Chargers O-line, they weren't bad last year. It was a drastic improvement from 2 years ago when Herbert was in his rookie year, but he certainly did not have a sophomore slump. So the Chargers are building something really good around Justin Herbert. That offensive line is looking better by the day. Now, jumping to their third-round pick, the Chargers drafted J.T. Woods, a safety out of Baylor. Now, I was okay with this pick. I was kind of wondering why they needed to pick safety when they had Derwin James. But, in my opinion, I think it's a good pick just because certainly you don't want them rolling out Alohi Gilman, their pick from Notre Dame a couple years ago in the same draft class as Justin Herbert. Like, I don't think that was a good pick at all. No offense to Alohi Gilman, but it just wasn't that great. I know Alohi Gilman had an interception against Patrick Mahomes and the Chargers went over the Chiefs, but he hasn't really been panned out all that much. I think JT Woods is a solid pick, and I think it just is another feather in the Chargers' cap in terms of defense. And then I want to say one of the other Chargers safeties left for free agency. Once again, I'm blanking on his name, but I kind of feel the Chargers needed another safety. Just because, once again, Alohi Gilman doesn't get the job done, and they need a backup for Derwin James in case, heaven forbid, Derwin James gets injured again. Which, I'm glad Derwin James got to play all 16 games. Like, I'm glad Derwin is back, and I hope he can stay back for as long as he can, knock on wood. Anyway, jumping to the fourth round, the Chargers selected Isaiah Spiller. So I was a little baffled by this pick just because the Chargers have Austin Eckler, but they lost Justin Jackson to free agency, or they didn't tender to his contract, so he's a free agent unless the Chargers kind of re-sign him. And they also have Larry Roundtree, last year's pick from Missouri. And they also have Joshua Kelly, their pick from a couple drafts ago from UCLA. To me, I think this is a solid pick just because Isaiah Spiller had the least amount of fumbles. I want to say he only had like 3 throughout his entire college career. I'm not entirely certain. He hails from Texas A&M. I should also mention that JT Woods hails from Baylor and Zion Johnson hailed from Boston College. But back to Isaiah Spiller, I think he is a solid pick. He comes out of Texas A&M, and once again, he had the fewest amount of fumbles in the nation, and I think it's huge. And I feel if they give him the reps and they don't just give the ball to just Eckler, I think he could be a good running back too, and I think he can produce the yards. I really think this pick is slightly underrated. Some people were saying, oh my god, I hate this pick. Now, I at first was like, okay, they got another running back, but then I realized, oh wait, they don't have Justin Jackson anymore. And this was kind of my fear. I was pretty much begging and hoping the Chargers would get a good running back too. It's kind of tough to find that good running back core. Obviously, or that good running back in the draft. Obviously, the Steelers found it with Najee Harris, but it kind of doesn't really go. It kind of goes downhill from there. It's tough to find a true prime running back talent. But I think this is a good pick. I think Isaiah Spiller will do really well. Jumping to round 5, the Chargers selected Otito Ogbonnia. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. As for Otito, he hails from UCLA. He's a defensive tackle. I think this is a pretty solid pick, if you ask me. Now, he actually came up big for UCLA quite a bit, and everyone loved this guy. From what I've heard, this was probably an underrated pick in round 5. And it helps the Chargers in terms of their defensive tackles and their defense overall. And the Chargers are building a wall when it comes to that defense. They have something special going on. It's just all about putting it together. So I think Otito Ogbonnia is a great pick, and he knows the UCLA. He hails from UCLA, so he doesn't have to go far. So welcome to the Chargers, Otito. I hope the Chargers can keep him for a majority of his career, and he can blossom into, I wouldn't say the next Joey Bosa or Khalil Mack, but it would be great to see another defensive tackle just straight up being a monster. So, Otito Ogbonnia, I trust you. Welcome Davidson Crooks to the chat room. He says, what's good? Just recapping the Chargers draft. I think they drafted really well for the most part. Jumping to round 6, they drafted Jamari Salyer, offensive tackle from Georgia. Now, I do not mind this pick at all because obviously he slipped all the way down to 195. However, this dude was an offensive tackle from Georgia, and their O-line was pretty solid, if I'm not mistaken. I think getting Salyer just helps the Chargers' offensive line more and more. And that's something the Chargers needed for the most part. They could now. Some people were saying they needed to draft wide receiver. I was against that 100%. If they drafted wide receiver, I would have just screamed. But they're drafting offensive line, and I think they're doing really well when it comes to filling that offensive line void. Now, obviously, they could have also gotten a better pick in terms of a Georgia offensive lineman, but I think most of the Georgia offensive linemen were taken in the earlier round. So I think getting Jamari Salyer is just another feather in the Chargers offensive line cap. Staying in round 6, the Chargers also drafted Jasir Taylor, cornerback from Wake Forest. So this was another need for the Chargers that they needed. They needed another good cornerback just because they lost. I guess Chris Harris Jr. is gone, and freaking good riddance. I have said it before, and I'll say it again. Chris Harris Jr., I love the guy. He has a Super Bowl ring with the Broncos, but he is not good. He's too old. He's getting cooked by wide receivers that are 10 years older than him. I'm sorry, but it is true. Okay, back to Jasir Taylor, cornerback from Wake Forest. This was also another good pick just because, once again, the Chargers needed that cornerback. They are building some good cores. They have J.C. Jackson that they signed from the Patriots. They also have Asante Samuel Jr. They have Michael Davis, who was an undrafted player, but he came alive. He's come alive for the past couple of years, even though he had injuries slow him down. But Jasir Taylor is another cornerback that I hope can flourish with the Chargers defense. Staley is a defensive guy. It's just that I would like to see his round 6 status just be out of there and just see him just flourish into a great cornerback and making everyone else regret not picking Taylor. And then jumping to round 7, the Chargers had 2 picks in round 7. So round 7, they drafted Dean Leonard, cornerback from Ole Miss. So this was actually a pick that I missed. I actually forgot about this pick, but I kind of forgot that this pick was there. But seeing as they drafted cornerback, and once again the Chargers needed a cornerback, I think it's a solid pick. Now, will he be the next Jalen Ramsey? Probably not. But do I think he can flourish? Yes. He's got to learn from Michael Davis, who is the experienced veteran. Asante Samuel obviously has to learn as well from Michael Davis. I think the Chargers' cornerback situation is much better than it was last year. Once again, they can't keep Chris Harris Jr. unless he becomes a coach. If he becomes a coach, cool. If he doesn't, then go enjoy retirement, Chris Harris Jr. And then the Chargers' last pick was Xander Horvath, a fullback from Purdue. So this was kind of confusing. It's like, well, why do you need a fullback when the Chargers already have Gabe Neighbors, who is heavily reliable? I was very confused, I'm not going to lie, but I guess it's an okay pick. I can't fault this pick. Maybe the Chargers just needed a better fullback, just because maybe Gabe Neighbors just wasn't cutting it due to maybe not fitting the system with Brandon Staley's offensive scheme. But I guess I could roll with this. I can't say anything too great about it. The Chargers probably could have selected a wide receiver, but I digress on that. Someone I wish the Chargers could have taken was Justin Ross, the wide receiver from Clemson. Now everyone was saying the Chargers need a wide receiver. Well, They could have gotten Justin Ross, and they could have also signed him as an undrafted free agent. Unfortunately, the Chargers did not do that, as he went to the AFC West rival Kansas City Chiefs, which, well, the Chiefs already had a great draft, so that's another feather in the Chiefs' cap after they lost Tyreek Hill. And I think that could bite the Chargers in the butt, kinda, but we'll see. I know the Chargers have Keenan Allen. They re-signed Mike Williams. They have Jalen Guyton, who they tendered. And then they also have Joshua Palmer from last year after his rookie year. But it would have been great to have another wide receiver threat. Like, maybe have him as a training camp repper or something like of that sort. Like, it wouldn't have been bad, honestly, but oh well. So overall, I think the Chargers get like a B, maybe a B plus for me. I can't really say they have an A. They have an A or A plus type of draft. And it's kind of tough for me to judge the Chargers just because they made some good picks, but all we could just do is wait and see if all of their picks are going to pan out. The Zion Johnson pick was very underrated, and I think that was a great pick by them. I actually would have preferred Jordan Davis, but he kind of went a couple picks ahead after the Eagles traded up, which, of course, the Eagles would do that. And then also the Eagles took a few other players as well, and it would have been great to see the Chargers get the other cornerback from Cincinnati, Kobe Bryant. Not Kobe Bryant, the former basketball player. Kobe Bryant, spelled C-O-B-Y. But I want to say he was named after Kobe Bryant. But I digress. But overall, the Chargers get a B to B plus in the draft. I think the Chargers did well. I think they checked off some of their boxes. I just hope that their picks can pan out. That's kind of the thing for the Chargers. If they stay healthy and everything works out in their favor, the Chargers are golden when it comes to possibly making the playoffs. They just have to actually win the games that they're supposed to win, and more importantly, they have to stay healthy. Because if they don't, then they will be missing the playoffs yet again. And then also, in news of the Chargers actually signed yesterday Kyle Van Noy, which I think was a huge signing. He is a former Miami Dolphin, and more importantly, he is a former linebacker for the New England Patriots. He played in the Super Bowl with them. I think he won a Super Bowl with them, if I'm not mistaken. But I think it's a huge signing. He just recently turned 31, and Van Noy said on the Pat McAfee show that he still has it in him, and I think he can still, and he says he was excited that the Chargers are serious when it comes to building a title contender. Once again, I hope the Chargers can put it all together. Like, they're really getting good pieces to their team. They're really, like, building their defense to making sure the run game isn't as leaky as it was last year. They're trying to make sure their defense is, like, top 10, maybe top 5. If that's the case, then boy howdy, then this Chargers team could be scary. And then the Chargers are just building around Justin Herbert as well. They're giving him more protection. They're giving him potential weapons. They re-signed Mike Williams. My only concern is they need a good running back, too, for Austin Eckler, just because Eckler had ankle issues last year for a couple games. But I think Eckler having a running back, too, for him to, like, teach and for the Chargers to, like, pedigree would be huge. Just because, once again, Austin Eckler can't do everything. Like, he can only do so much for the Chargers. And then you also got to remember that the Chargers lost some good players like Uchenna Nwosu, and then I think they're going to lose Linval Joseph, which I can't really say I'm too surprised about, but what can you do? And then they lost Kaiser White. That was the safety I was thinking. They lost Kaiser White to free agency, which I think was also big. So And then they also lost Justin Jones to free agency as well. So the Chargers are replenishing their defense with some new faces, some familiar faces, and then some fresh new faces. If they can, once again, only time will tell to see if they can actually get it together. So we say hello to Adam in the chat room. He said, are the Kings going to take the series again tonight, or the series lead again tonight? We'll see. I'll be getting into that after the Rams. I recap the Rams' pick. So the Rams, going over to the Rams, they did not draft until the third round. So their third round pick was Logan Bruss, a offensive lineman from Wisconsin. He was their third round pick 104. I thought this was a good pick just because it gives the Rams more offensive line protection, because you got to remember, I think they lost they re-signed one of their players. I think it was their right guard, but they did lose Andrew Whitworth to retirement, so obviously replenishing the offensive line helps out the Rams' O-line, and it helps keep Matt Stafford's jersey clean. In the fourth round, the Rams drafted Jacoby Durant, a cornerback from South Carolina State. I guess this was a good pick. I didn't really get to see what the Rams needed just because they were the Super Bowl champs. Now, here's the thing about the Rams. They like to throw their picks to the wind and just like to go all in with like getting these superstar players. Like, you remember the Rams traded their first-round pick, I think another first-round pick, and Jared Goff for Matt Stafford. And look at what happened. The Rams won the Super Bowl, which was amazing. But for me, I think Jacoby Durant, back to Durant, I think he's a solid pick. It helps the Rams defense. It helps Jalen Ramsey mentor another cornerback. Jumping to round number 5, the Rams selected Kyren Williams, running back from Notre Dame. So, okay, I guess this was another one of those picks where it's like, okay, he's on the team. But they did lose Sony Michel to free agency. I'm certain he's a free agent now because it was only a one-year deal. He only had 1 year on his contract when he was with the Patriots, but with Cam Akers being back, he should be the running back 1, and then Darrell Henderson should be running back 2. So I imagine Kyren Williams is going to want to challenge Henderson for that running 2 spot. Jumping to round 6, the Rams selected Quentin Lake, safety out of UCLA. This pick I actually like just because he is a Southern California product. He went to Mater Dei, if I'm not mistaken, and he went to UCLA. So he doesn't have to go far when it comes to his team. So I think this was a solid pick for him, for the Rams. I think this was probably their best pick, and I think this is a very underrated pick in my opinion. So I think Quentin Lake is a great pick, and I think it might be their second best pick behind Logan Bruss. Staying in round 6, the Rams had another pick. I think this next pick, their 212th pick, they actually had back-to-back picks. I want to say one of them was from the Tennessee Titans when they traded Robert Woods to the Titans. Take care of him, Titans. Anyway, their second pick in the 6th round, following Quentin Lake, was cornerback from Georgia, Darian Kendrick. Once again, this guy was obviously from the Georgia football team that won the national championship last year. I can't really gauge on how good this pick was, but once again, it's another cornerback for Jalen Ramsey to mentor. And if he was good, I think the Rams can utilize him quite nicely. But it all depends. We'll have to see. Time will tell. So there's that right there. I should also mention that in day 3, the Rams traded one of their picks for Troy Reeder, who was on the Browns. So Troy Reeder was actually one of a former Ram, and then the Rams unfortunately let him. Well, no, Reeder went to the Browns in free agency, but now he's back. So all in all, for the I think it was Troy Reeder. I'm not entirely certain. The Rams made some sort of trade to the Browns, but I'll have to look at that following the draft. But jumping to round 7, the Rams selected Daniel Hardy, edge rusher from Montana State. So this was an interesting pick just because I want to say Montana State was a FCS school, but either way, edge rusher, it helps the Rams defense, gives them another tool to be handy about. So I'll take it. Also in the 7th round, the Rams selected Russ Yeast, safety from Kansas State. So this was, I guess, a solid pick. I mean, I feel it's a good pick, and I don't even know who I actually don't know who the Rams' safety is off the top of my head. I'm pro Chargers as opposed to Rams, but I like the Rams too. But Russ East, good pick considering it helps the defense. And then their final pick of the draft in round 7, pick 261, the Rams selected AJ Arcuri, offensive lineman from Michigan State. So I wish Zach Puplis was in the chat just so I can get his take on Arcuri. But it's another offensive lineman pick. You can't go wrong with that, especially since the Rams need all the offensive line protection they can get, especially with Matt Stafford getting up in age. I'm not saying he's getting old, like Tom Brady old, but he is kind of getting up there in age. I think he's 32, if not 33. Either way, Matt Stafford still needs all that protection. So that is pretty much the Rams' draft. So I can't really give the Rams a pick, or I can't really give the Rams a grade just because everyone and their mom says the Rams did a horrible job drafting. Well, they kind of didn't have a first and second round pick. They didn't pick till the 100s, so it's like, are we really going to bash the Rams that much? No. So, all in all, I'll give this an undecided. I'll give this the Rams' draft grade an undecided. Just because they have such a good team already, and I can't really fault them for it. So, we'll see what happens going forward for their team. But once again, they look like a very, very solid group, and I think that the Rams should still be one of the teams to beat in the NFC. And Troy Hill was Troy Hill, not Troy Reader, so that was my bad. So Troy Hill went to the Browns last year in free agency, and then now he got traded from the Browns to the Rams for one of their picks, and now he's back on the Rams. So there you go. So I think that's actually solid that he came back just because he knows the Rams' defensive scheme and he knows the Rams' culture. He knows everybody, like Jalen Ramsey, Leonard Floyd, Aaron Donald, you name it. So I think that is a good, and he also has that veteran presence. He has that veteran presence to like help out the Rams, whether it's returning kicks or being a corner. Either way, I think Troy Hill will be a great re-addition. I say the word re-addition just because he actually played for the Rams, for the Rams' title defense. That is going to do it for the NFL. Adam obviously asks, are the Kings going to take the series lead again tonight against the Edmonton Oilers? That's actually a perfect segue to jump on into the NHL. So the LA Kings are the only, hence the word only, team from Southern California representing in the NHL playoffs. They play tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific time against Edmonton at the Crypto.com Arena. The series is actually tied at 1-1 as the Kings won the first game 4-3, which, for those of you that don't know, the Kings kind of have an interesting draw. Like, they finished third in the Pacific Division, and I was sadly mistaken. I guess they don't do the whole top 4 teams in each division go to the playoffs because the Vegas Golden Knights failed to make the playoffs as well. They actually have this wild card thing. So either way, the Kings are in the playoffs, and it's awesome. I'm glad to see that Southern California has at least one NHL team and not like none. Like, it really is not fun to see a team or a region not have anyone in the playoffs. It looks as if the Kings are I wouldn't say they're an underdog, just because they've been underdogs for quite a while when it comes to making the playoffs. But they did finish 5 points below Edmonton. They're on the bottom right-hand side of the playoff bracket. So if they do get out of the first round, they would face they could face a possible other opponent from their division, Calgary or the Dallas Stars. But in order to get to Calgary or Dallas, they have to take down the Edmonton Oilers, which their second game was a complete travesty. The Kings lost 6-0, which was a complete nightmare. I was looking at this game. I was like, oh boy. I'm like, oh my goodness. So it's 1-1 once again, and the series shifts to Los Angeles. If the Kings want to have any chance of winning the series, they need to take at least one game. If they lose both these games, it's a wrap. But if they take both games, then they're in a very good situation. Now, what I meant by the Kings have been underdogs throughout most of their playoff runs was, does anyone remember 2012 when the Kings won the Stanley Cup? Because I do. I want to say they were the 8th seed. They were the 8th seed. They knocked off the 1 seed, and they eventually won their first ever Stanley Cup. And as a Ducks fan, I was just very happy for them. That's because for an 8th seed to do that, it's just so impressive. Adam says Game 2 was ugly for the Kings in period 3. Yeah, it was that type of game for the Kings. So the Kings have been underdogs throughout most of their playoff runs. 2014, I also want to say they were a 5 seed. I do remember them rallying back from an 0-3 deficit to defeat the San Jose Sharks. I want to say that was also the year the Kings beat the Anaheim Ducks when the Ducks were up 3-2 in the series, which, that is just ugly. That was just an ugly series for the Ducks. But we're not talking about the Ducks. We're talking about the Kings. So the Kings are back in the postseason. I'm happy for them. I'm glad they were able to hold on and knock the Golden Knights out, even though they weren't the ones that knocked the Golden Knights out of playoff contention. But they were one of the teams that knocked the Golden Knights out of playoff contention. So once again, this is an important game for the Kings just because it's Game 3. Series is tied at 1-1. And they have to, hence the word have to, get her done. So the one that scored the go-ahead goal in the third period for the Kings was Philip Denault. So that was kind of your hero of the game, which was quite amazing. And then I want to say Jonathan Quick had himself quite the game in the net for the Kings. And yes, Jonathan Quick did have himself quite the game. He had 36 saves, which is quite nice. So good for Jonathan Quick. Obviously, Game 2, we don't even need to go over. It was just an ugly game from the get-go. And as Adam said in the chat room, Period 3 was a period to forget. But it is a new day, a new game, and hopefully the Kings can get the job done. So we'll see. But that is going to do it for the NHL portion of the show. Obviously, Adam Karnick and Zach Puplis do a better job of breaking down hockey. You can catch them every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Neutral Zone. I highly recommend listening to it. They have a lot of fun doing the Neutral Zone. So definitely do check it out. Jumping on over to the MLB. So I'm astounded by the amazing start that the Angels are off to. They play the Washington Nationals in less than an hour. So the Angels are not sucking. They're 17-10, and they won the series against the Boston Red Sox 2-1. They dropped the first game this past Tuesday 4-0. But then they woke up the bats and beat the Red Sox 10-5. They actually have been getting lots of contributions from Taylor Ward and Jared Walsh. Like, when it's not Shohei Ohtani or David Fletcher or Mike Trout knocking in some homers or RBIs, Jared Walsh and Taylor Ward are the ones stepping up. And then in this past Thursday, the Angels blanked the Red Sox 8-0. Shohei Ohtani was amazing on the mound. He got the win. He had 11 strikeouts, which was quite nice, and he pitched 7 innings as well. So, good job. So, the previous series against the White Sox was kind of meh. It wasn't a bad series, as I should also mention that the Angels swept the season's or their series against the Cleveland Guardians before they took on the White Sox. They won all 4 games, which was quite nice. As for their 4-game series against the White Sox, they won the first 2 games 5-1, or they won the first game 5-1, lost the second game 4-0. They won the third game 6-5, and then they lost the third game 3-0, which I have mixed feelings about. I mean, the White Sox have kind of been in this limbo of they've been up and down throughout most of the season, but it's still early. Like, the MLB is a race, the MLB is a marathon, not a sprint, so I'm not too worried about the Angels, but my big question for the Angels is, can they stay consistent throughout most of the season? I want to say they can. If they could continue to have pitching nights, if they continue to have nights where they don't leave runners in scoring position stranded or runners on base in general, if they don't have like nights where their bats are just silent, I think the Angels can do damage. I think everyone has been saying that throughout a majority of the season. Like, the Angels are pretty much hit or miss when it comes to pitching and hitting. Like, sometimes their pitching is just amazing, and then their pitching is just sacre bleu, and then their hitting is basically the same way. Their hitting can be very dynamic with the hitters that they have, like Trout and Ohtani and Ward and Walsh, and then the bats are basically just silent on games where they're just straight up dog do. Adam actually added something about the Kings. He said Philip Deneau had the game winner in Game 1. Quick was outstanding. Okay, so I guess I kind of messed up when it came to that. When it came to that third period goal from the Kings. So that was my bad. Oh, I mispronounced his last name. So I pronounced it Denault, but it's actually Deneau. So thanks, Adam. I did not know that was how it's pronounced. Just like how everyone calls Jakob Silverberg Jacob Silverberg. And I'm like, no, it is Jakob Silverberg, not Jacob. So thanks, Adam, for catching that. So anyway, back to the Angels. The Angels' problem is that they get off to somewhat of a good start, but then they wind up just slowly crashing and burning when it comes to the later part of the season. And it's not even losing to Supreme teams. They lose to like these ticky-tack teams like the Orioles or the Tigers or any of that sort. It really is frustrating, and I wish the Angels would just play a full season, beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, and more importantly, just stay consistent, whether it's with pitching or hitting. This weekend, the Angels have the Nationals at home on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then on Monday through Wednesday, the Angels are still at home against Tampa Bay. Then next weekend, the Angels actually have 4 games. They have 4 games against the Oakland A's. They actually have a doubleheader on Saturday, so that's why I said 4 games. So we'll see how the Angels can do. The Oakland A's have been meh. The Rays have been pretty solid. They nearly have the same record as the Angels. And then the Nationals have, dare I say it, they haven't really been good. So that's pretty much that for the Angels. I'm liking their season. They're actually ahead in the AL West. They're up a game and a half on the Astros. And the Astros, unfortunately, they have actually won 4 in a row, which really is concerning. I imagine the Astros are going to be stringing together wins. They did sweep the season series, or not the season series, the most recent series against the Mariners, and they beat the Tigers yesterday. They're currently playing the Tigers right now, as it's 1-0 in favor of Detroit. So we'll see how the Astros can do. Seattle in their division has kind of crashed and burned. They have actually are one of the more colder teams in the division. They've lost 4 in a row. Oakland has lost 6 in a row, and then Texas has won 4 in a row, which is kind of nice. Once again, I was in Dallas-Fort Worth this past weekend, or last week, where all I got to see was Texas Rangers games, and it's like, oh boy, it's like when I went to a restaurant with my brother, I actually saw the Texas Rangers and the Philadelphia Phillies, and they went into extra innings, and my mind was just thinking, it's not a matter of who wants to win this game more, it's a matter of who wants to lose this game more. The answer was Philadelphia. But that's enough about Texas. This isn't the Texas Supreme Sports Show, it's the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Jumping on over to the Dodgers, they swept their most recent series against the San Francisco Giants this past Tuesday, and Wednesday they won by scores of 3-1 and 9-1. Tonight they were supposed to play the Cubbies in Chicago at Wrigley Field. Unfortunately, it has been postponed. They will have a doubleheader tomorrow at 10:05 a.m. Pacific time, and then 4:40 p.m. Pacific time later on in the day. And then on Sunday, which is actually ESPN's game of the week, the Dodgers play the Cubs. And then following that series, the Dodgers play the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then they play the Philadelphia Phillies. Well, they play the Pirates on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they play the Phillies on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Dodgers could be in for some wins just because the Phillies have been very, very tragic, and the Pirates haven't really been as good as well. And then, no offense, Adam, don't take this the wrong way, but the Cubs haven't really been all that great as well. But it's still early in the season. You never know. And then after the Phillies, the Dodgers have the Diamondbacks coming up, and the Phillies again, then the Nationals, then the Diamondbacks again, then the Pirates again. Their true challenge doesn't come until they face the Mets of all teams. So we'll say, oh well. And then Adam says he's sorry about the Dodgers-Cubs delay. There's been nothing but cold and rain all week. Oof. That's got to be brutal. But you don't need to apologize. It's Mother Nature's way of saying that it is very unpredictable. So there's that right there. So last but not least, we have... Well, actually, before we jump on into the Padres, the Dodgers lead the division by half a game over the Padres. The AL West has kind of been competitive as all their teams are 500 or better, which you don't really see too often. Even the Diamondbacks are 500. So, jumping on over to the Padres, which is perfect segue, the Padres have pretty much been winning a good amount of games. They had to split their doubleheader against the Guardians. They won 5-4 in the first game, and then they got walked off in the 10th inning thanks to Obi-Wan Kenobi, as they lost 6-5, as unfortunately Kwan singled to right, and that was pretty much the game, which made me sad face. But it's all good because San Diego is they're still doing good. Stephen Kwan has been a beast for them, so I can't really get mad at him, especially since once again he had trash thrown at him against the Yankees fans. For those of you that were wondering about the Dum Dum of the Week last year, Stephen Kwan sadly got trash thrown at him, so I had to give Yankees fans the Dum Dum of the Week. Okay, but back to the Padres. The Padres actually swept their previous series against the Pirates, and then they also swept their previous series against the Reds. So those are some good series wins, but the Reds have been very horrible. And then the Pirates, they're not too bad, but they're not too good. So yesterday, they actually started a 4-game series against the Miami Marlins. They squeaked out a win, winning 2-1. They play the Marlins tonight in about 37 minutes, and then they play Saturday and Sunday as well. They have the Cubs in their next series on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They have the Braves, which have kind of been in a little bit of a quagmire struggle, next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then they have the Phillies. Their true challenge not true challenge, their next challenging series will come against the Giants and the Brewers as the month goes on. So we'll see if the Padres can hold firm with the Dodgers in the NL West. They're only a half game behind, but there's still plenty of time this season. And the funny thing is about the NL West being super competitive, Colorado is in third place in the NL West. They're actually 15-10. However, they have a run differential of -9, which is like, okay. But it just goes to show that the NL West is very competitive, so I'm interested to see how the Giants are able to recover. I'm also interested to see if the Padres can keep pace with the Dodgers. I'm also interested if the Dodgers can actually just continue their winning ways and if they could still hold firm on that NL West lead. Because they had the NL West lead and then the Giants were a thing last year. They actually stole, well, I wouldn't say stole. They swiped the NL West spot from underneath the Dodgers' nose and basically won the NL West last year. So all in all, I think this is going to be a very, very dogfight type race of the NL West. And I think no game is guaranteed, even if you face the Diamondbacks. Like, the Dodgers can sometimes be hit or miss with some of their pitchers and hitters. But when they're hitting, it's basically a nightmare for the other team. So we'll have to see how the Dodgers fare and if they could beat up on the teams that they're supposed to beat up on. Because they have a good plate of games that they could, on paper, win. But it's just all about if the Dodgers can have good pitching and good hitting as well. Like, Max Muncy is doing a great job. We have to see on Mookie Betts and Cody Bellinger. But I think that the Dodgers are still... I like what the Dodgers are bringing, and I also like what the Padres are bringing. I think the Padres, after their disappointment last year, is looking for a little bit of redemption, so we'll have to see what the Padres can do this season as opposed to what they did last year. So that's going to do it for the MLB portion of the show. Let's take ourselves a quick little commercial breaky break. When we come back, we'll have some soccer talk. We'll have some NWSL and MLS. And then we can't forget about the Dum Dum of the Week Award. You're going to like this Dum Dum of the Week Award. So you're listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, sports fans? Are you looking for the latest on Northern California sports? Then take a trip out west with me, your host, Gina G, on Reppin' to NorCal Sports, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'll be bringing it to you all the way live every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And it's always a packed show. I'll bring you everything Dynastic 49ers, the bite of the San Jose Sharks, torture of the San Francisco Giants, the Golden State Warriors that we still believe. Then take you across the bay to the rise and grind of the Oakland A's. I've got you covered on college ball from the Cal Bears to the Stanford Cardinal, so that no matter what, reppin' in NorCal Sports is always reppin' the Bay. So if you bleed red and gold, or you're looking to keep an eye out west in them thar hills, don't miss me, Gina G, on reppin' in NorCal Sports. Catch me every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and I'll have your fandom repped harder than a trio of defenders guarding Stephen Curry before his buzzer beater is Gucci.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Locke.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Back with segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Definitely do check out all those shows, such as Reppin' to NorCal Sports with Gina G, Chi-Town Weekly with my man Adam Karnick, who had some great comments in the chat room, and Fast Break with Davidson Crooks, who was popping in and saying hello, and he's probably listening. So definitely do check out all those shows, and check out all 31 of our shows, soon to be 32. I heard we got a new Minnesota sports show, and I'm excited for that. So let's jump on into segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, and then we can get on out here, because imagine everyone wants some dinner. So anyway, jumping on over to the MLS, we have LAFC still continuing their strong start. Now that I just mentioned the Minnesota, LAFC actually beat Minnesota United 2-0, as LAFC is currently atop the Western Conference. Now, the entire MLS has kind of been very unpredictable. I don't think anyone predicted Seattle, the Seattle Sounders, having such a horrible record with just 2 wins through 7 matches. But there have been a lot of teams. But you also got to remember that the Sounders also played in that other tournament. I'm blanking on the tournament. I think it's called the Kanefka tournament. Either way, it was the Champions League. It was the CONCACAF Champions League finals, and they won that Champions League final, which was quite nice. I think they became the first MLS team to win the Champions League final, but this isn't about Seattle. Back to LAFC, they're still atop the Western Conference, and they actually, hence the word actually, have the best record in all of the MLS, which is quite nice. LAFC is starting to get back on top of the mountain, and it's good because it's high time we see LAFC retaking over the Western Conference and the MLS, because they actually had themselves quite a good run. I remember a couple of seasons ago, the MLS or the LAFC had themselves quite a good run. They were actually the number 1 seed, but unfortunately they lost to the Sounders in the Western Conference Finals because the Sounders are the Sounders. Either way, LAFC is still looking for that first ever MLS Cup, but it's bound to get there. So tomorrow, LAFC plays Philadelphia at home. So this is actually going to be the best of the West versus the best of the East, which I think it's going to be really fun to see that matchup. I think it'll be a great matchup between LAFC and the Philadelphia Union. And then I guess the LAFC has another tournament that they're playing in. They're playing Portland in a round of 32 tournament, but we'll have to see going down the line. But LAFC plays Philadelphia, which is going to be a great game. Looking at their goal scorers against Minnesota, they actually did not get their goals until late in the game. On the 83rd minute, they got Ryan Hollingshed scoring the first goal for LAFC. And then Jose Cifuentes had the second goal for LAFC as, once again, they beat Minnesota United 2-0, which is quite nice. Also looking at the Western Conference, you have the LA Galaxy, who are still doing well. They unfortunately lost to Real Salt Lake 1-0 this past Saturday. I heard they had a goal disallowed just because one of their players was just a little offsides. And Real Salt Lake got their goal from Marcelo Silva, which is quite a bummer. I am very sad that the Galaxy lost to Real Salt Lake just because, well, they're actually trying to catch up in the Western Conference, but I think LAFC is fine. The Galaxy are actually currently 3rd, which for having 3 losses, it's still pretty solid. And they have 5 wins, so it helps when you're actually winning your games instead of just drawing. I mean, drawing is good, but you only get 1 point. Now, winning is better because you get more points. So there's that. And then if you lose, you're basically getting squat diddly. So the Galaxy actually have a big game ahead of them. The Galaxy play Austin FC, which is the new expansion team from the MLS. So they're playing at Austin. So that's going to be a really good game. You want to know why? Because Austin is actually 2nd in the Western Conference. So I would like to see the Galaxy having a statement win, kind of like they did in El Tráfico against LAFC. I really think that would be a huge win if they knocked off Austin, because this MLS season has been all over the place. Like, you're getting teams that are once good being at the bottom for the time being, and then you also have teams that were at the bottom or that missed the playoffs last year surging their way through power. And I like this. I think this is fun, and I hope LAFC and the LA Galaxy can actually hold serve when it comes to being in the top 7, because the Galaxy were in the top 7 throughout all of last year, except on the final day of the season, as they actually missed the playoffs the final day of the MLS season, and it's like, that was what really made me mad. And as a Galaxy fan, it's just so frustrating to see the Galaxy just being in the playoff hunt all season and then being on the outside looking in the final day of the season. It's like, guys, really? So to see them in third place and to see LAFC in first place is actually a breath of fresh air. Adam Clark says, your Sparks are being very rude, by the way. Leading the defending champs at halftime on ring night is very uncouth. Oh, I kind of forgot that the WNBA season is underway, as the Sparks are indeed leading the Chicago Sky at halftime, 42-39. So this is actually the season opener for the Sparks, and I guess that's a good segue to go into the WNBA. So thanks, Adam. So the Sparks, obviously they missed the playoffs. It was a tragic year all around, as Derek Fisher, yes, the Derek Fisher, the head coach of the Sparks, is trying to look to get back into the playoffs, just because it's a very small path to the postseason, as there's only 6 teams, and I imagine the playoff system continues to change year after year after year after year. And there was only one game that's happened, and that was the Washington Mystics and the Indiana Fever. So looking at the Sparks roster, and I actually didn't really prepare to talk about them, to my disappointment. The Sparks actually got one of Chicago's former players, Katie Lou Samuelson, which I'm surprised. I don't even know what happened to her. I kind of remember she kind of got hurt, and she was one of the Sky's top picks. She comes from UConn, but she actually comes from Southern California, coming from the girls basketball factory from Modern Day. But I'm surprised Katie Lou Samuelson found her way onto the Sparks. And I think this is really cool to see Katie Lou Samuelson on the Sparks. And you want to know why that name is familiar? Is because her oldest sister, Carly Lou Samuelson, was a former player on the Sparks as well. Now, I don't know how many games Carly played, but having Katie Lou would be really great. And she's only 24, so I really hope she can flourish. They also have the Ogwumike sisters, Nneka and Chini. Now, both of them are in their 30s, but it's their early 30s. And then they also have Liz Cambridge as well. Here's hoping that the season isn't a complete wash like it was last year, because I think the Sparks on paper, they have so much potential. It's just that losing Candace Parker kind of punched a hole in their ship. And replacing her is no easy feat, in my honest opinion. So it's rough, but we'll have to see. As Nneka Ogwumike leads the Sparks in points in this game against Chicago with 15. And then it kind of goes down from there as Lexi Brown and Kennedy Carter each have 6 points, which I hope Ogwumike doesn't. I mean, honestly, Nneka Ogwumike, I think it was her. It's one of the sisters. She got left off the Team USA women's basketball team, the National Team USA women's basketball team, and one of those Ogwumike sisters was a former MVP, and everyone was just in so disbelief that one of the Ogwumike sisters was left off the team. And Derek Fisher had some choice words. Every player on Team USA was disappointed. I'm pretty sure it was Nneka who was left off. And I hope Nneka has a big MVP-type season where she is saying, nobody cuts me. So that's that right there for the WNBA. To continue speaking of Ogwumike, and talking about basketball, I actually, on my plane ride back to California, I actually did see Space Jam 2 finally. I thought it was a very good movie. I thought it was pretty good, honestly. I think it gets a bad rap just because it's not as comparable as the first one, but there were a lot of Easter eggs in that movie referencing, and there were a lot of references to the first movie, and then there were a lot of references to like other movies and other things. It's like cool beans. And some of the things, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but excuse me, it was just a great move. It was just a fun movie, and I can understand why people give it a bad rap, just because, once again, people who watched the first Space Jam will say that's an instant classic, while this one wasn't really as comparable, just because the plot isn't as, great. Like, long story short, and this is for those that don't want to hear spoilers, you'll have 5 seconds to mute your laptops, and then I will play a little bit of my set point theme to get you back. So 5, 4, 3, spoilers in 1. Okay, so the plot of Space Jam 2 was LeBron's son obviously wants to do his own thing, create a video game, a basketball video game. LeBron doesn't want his kid to do it, and then it's basically just back and forth, and, Dom, unfortunately, runs away. He goes to the multiverse where the main antagonist, Al G Rhythm, very clever name, by the way, Al G Rhythm, kidnaps LeBron James' son. He sends LeBron James to Toon World, the Looney Tunes world, and basically, LeBron has to build a basketball team of possibly Looney Tunes and whatnot. He wants to get great Warner Brothers characters like Superman, Iron Giant, King Kong, but he doesn't. He obviously has to play with the Looney Tunes, and long story short, the Toon Squad was getting their butts kicked in the first half, and eventually the Toon Squad had to snap LeBron out of it, saying, you can't be such a control freak, dude. You gotta actually let us do our thing instead of just letting us be all like you. And eventually, the Toon Squad came back from 1,000 points down and won, and it was awesome sauce, and that was the end. So, in the end, it was just a heartwarming thing because, as the game progressed, Dom eventually switched sides, and Al G Rhythm just was not having it, so he eventually created himself as a player to try to bend the rules. And long story short, Al G Rhythm cheated to try to beat the Toon Squad because the Toon Squad had plot armor. No, I'm just kidding. Because the Toon Squad was just doing their thing, and they were playing Dom's game, so they eventually had to do their thing, and basically just they gave Al G Rhythm and the Goon Squad a taste of their own medicine. So there's that right there. And at the end of the day, the moral of the story is don't let others be like you just because you had yourself a rough time. You just got to let people just be you. Okay, spoilers are over. Now we can go back to Southern California sports. That's pretty much my little spiel of Space Jam 2. Going back to the Sparks Sky game, the Sparks are up 49-47, which means the Sky are trying to make a comeback, which makes me sad face. I don't want that, but it is what it is. It's only the first game of the season. I'm not going to trip over it that much, but if it is, then so be it. I just hope the Sparks have a better season. I don't want to see them missing the playoffs. No more missing this playoffs thing. So there's that right there. Jumping on over to the NWSL, if I can find it. The NWSL has two teams from Southern California. They have the San Diego Wave, or Wave Football Club, and they have Angel City Football, as Angel City is currently third in the NWSL regular season standings. They're actually 1-0. They just kicked off their season, and they actually beat Carolina by a score of 2-1 this past weekend. So it's great to see Angel City finally getting their first win of the end as an actual NWSL team. Angel City beat the Portland Thorns, but that was in group stage play. That was because of this little tournament that the NWSL had. In the regular season, Angel City defeated Carolina 2-1, registering their first ever NWSL win as an NWSL team in the NWSL. I'm so happy for Angel City FC just because Southern California has been dying for an NWSL team. And boy howdy, I am thankful we have Angel City FC as our NWSL team. We also have San Diego Wave, the San Diego Wave picking up their first victory of the season. First victory as an NWSL team in the NWSL as they defeated the Houston Dash 1-0. Jody Taylor had San Diego's goal in the 86th minute, which is very nice. As for Angel City's goal against Carolina, their goals came from Vanessa Giles in the 3rd minute and June Endo in the 13th minute. North Carolina didn't get on the board until the 51st minute when Debina, that's actually her name, Debina had the only goal for the North Carolina Courage. But that was the only goal as Angel City FC won by a score of 2-1, and there's that right there. Their official NWSL opener was a complete success. So, accidentally turn on their notifitions. So, Angel City FC has their next match against Orlando, and it's actually going to be at home. And the Orlando Pride is obviously an experienced group, as they did take a loss their first game of the season, but Orlando has experience compared to LA. Regardless, I think Angel City FC should be fine. It would be great if they got the win. I would like to see them pulling off a win before heading off to the state's capital or the nation's capital to take on Washington. So we'll see what Angel City FC has to offer. And then San Diego's next game is Saturday or tomorrow against Gotham. It's Gotham Football Club of New Jersey and New York. So I guess we'll just call them the New York Gotham. They beat Orlando 3-0. So I'm still trying to get used to the NWSL. I'm still trying to get used to the NWSL and having an NWSL team. I think it's great that we have an NWSL team, and it's great for all of the NWSL, considering they're not as big as the MLS, just because gender equality and whatnot. But we're getting so many good teams. We have a team from New Jersey and New York. We have a team from Washington. We have a team from Louisville, for goodness sake. We have a team from... Oh goodness, I actually don't know this team's name. I guess it's OL? What? I guess it's not Ontario, that's for sure, but their name is the OL Reign. So I imagine it's like, I was going to say Ontario, but I don't think it's Ontario. So we'll see. But the NWSL is growing. They even have a team from Kansas City. They have the Kansas City Current. My goodness. So the NWSL is growing, and I'm happy for it. I remember talking NWSL with Larry B back when I was his co-host on The Defining Moment. Those were the good old days. That eventually helped get my start as a podcast host. But either way, that's pretty much your NWSL discussion. There will be more Angel City and San Diego Wave FC talk in the near future. You can bet on it. I will talk NWSL. No one can deny that, and I will not forget. So that's that right there. Before we get on into the Dum Dum of the Week award, the Sparks are down 57-51, which that lead was very short-lived, if you ask me. So I guess the Sparks decided to become good guests. They decided to become good guests for the Chicago Sky's ring ceremony, which makes me sad face. Like, come on, Sparks. You can't be losing in your season opener. I know it's on the road, but you had the lead and now you're trailing. Like, why? Why you gotta do this to me, Sparks? Anyway, so now we're going to jump on into the Dum Dum of the Week award. So the Dum Dum of the Week award is basically people who do or say very dumb things. And anyone can get the Dum Dum of the Week award. So, and no one is safe from the Dum Dum of the Week award. Anyone can get Dum Dum of the Week, and honestly, it's all for fun. It's not to be serious. It's not to put anyone down or make them feel bad or miserable. It's all for fun. So this week's so I actually have a mini Dum Dum of the Week. So this actually comes back to my little excursions back in Texas with my brother. So yesterday my brother and I got to have some brother time because it was my last day in Texas. And more importantly, I wanted to spend some time with him before I headed back to Southern California. So overall, we had fun yesterday. We actually went to oh my gosh, I'm actually blanking on the name that we went to yesterday. We went to Alley Cats. We went to Alley Cats yesterday. It was basically, it's kind of like Dave and Buster's, but we went to Alley Cats. We golfed and we got to play bowling. Let's just say my golf game was absolutely atrocious, but that's not the mini Dum Dum of the Week. So when my brother and I bowled, let's just say the bowling match went my way and I beat him quite nicely. Now the second game, I had a chance to win, but I whiffed. And actually before we head on into the second game, but the first game, I actually took a picture of the first game of our match, and I saved it to my phone. And you also need to keep in mind that we had 60 minutes we had a full hour of bowling time until our bowling lane got shut down. So the first game we got done in quite a good amount of time. I think we got done in about, let's say 20 minutes. Let's say 20 minutes or so, maybe 15. And then the second game, obviously, I kind of spoiled it. I had a chance to beat my brother, but he beat me out by one pin. It was 108 to 107, and I was going to take a picture of it. However, my brother, being the frantic guy that he was, thinking that we only had 15 minutes, clicked next game before I could take a picture of the game 2 score. So I couldn't get a picture of the game 2 score, and I was like, dude, we have plenty of time left. And I even told him that we had like 30 minutes left, and he said, no, he's like, dude, we only have 15 minutes left. Let's go to a sudden death game. So he's like, no, we have more than 15 minutes. So he panicked. He thought we had less time, but there was a timer on top of the screen in the left-hand corner. So he kind of messed up on that. But I didn't get a chance to take a picture of the score, of the bowling score in which he beat me. So he kind of panicked, and now I unfortunately don't have proof of him beating me. And then as for the last game, let's just say the tiebreaker game went in my favor because I chose violence and chaos after I lost that second game. So that's kind of, my brother kind of gets the mini Dum Dum of the Week because he overreacted and he was frantic and he was thinking that we had a little amount of time. And unfortunately, I couldn't get his bowling score his bowling score picture taken. But it's all good. Like, he beat me and I acknowledge it. And it's no big deal. It's all for fun. So he gets the mini Dum Dum of the Week award. But I'm not going to do the whole "you are so dumb, you are very dumb" thing. So now for the actual Dum Dum of the Week award. And there's no sugarcoating this. The Dum Dum of the Week award is yours truly, me. Okay, so first of all, before anyone asks, yes, I can get Dum Dum of the Week. I've gotten Dum Dum of the Week in the past for things I didn't mean to do, but oh my gosh. So when it came to this, believe it or not, this was actually my first time traveling alone to any place out of state on an airplane. So I kind of did not know the ins and outs, and it doesn't end. So I actually have two parts to the Dum Dum of the Week award. So the first part was me getting to Dallas. So as I was about to board my plane, I made sure I went to the bathroom, made sure I had everything on my belongings, and then I went to the bath, and then I got to board the plane, and as I was trying to find my seat, put my carry-on up top, I needed to go to the bathroom again. So I thought it was a smart idea for me to go to the bathroom before we took off. Little did I know, that was the worst idea I could have ever thought of. Because people were still boarding the plane while I was going to the bathroom. Yeah, I basically went to the bathroom on the plane, in the lavatory, while people were still boarding on the plane. That was the worst idea I could have ever done. I think holding it in would have been a better idea, just because after I went to the bathroom, I had to go up the aisle, back to my seat, while people were still boarding. And then one guy was not too thrilled with that. And I wanted to clap back at him and make a comeback and say, dude, everything goes. If it were you, I wouldn't say squat. But I kind of deserved it. I shouldn't have gone to the bathroom before we took off while people were boarding. It was just not a smart idea on my part. And I really thought that was, looking back at it, it was a very, very dumb decision. But it gets worse. So when I was flying back, I actually boarded on Southwest Airlines. Now, for those of you that were wondering, Southwest Airlines is basically like public transportation. You could sit wherever you want, no matter what. And I basically was one of the first few people to board the plane. I was basically in the A group. Little did I know, I didn't know how boarding worked. So I basically got to pick my seat where it was. I could have gotten an aisle seat. I could have gotten a window seat. Heaven forbid. The only thing is, I didn't want to get a middle seat or a window seat. I mean, a window seat wouldn't have been bad, but a middle seat would have been terrible. I could have gotten an aisle seat, and then boom, I could have just been chilling, just stretching out my legs and all that, just because I've got long legs. But little did I know, I chose a window seat. But that's not where the dumb part goes. So the true dumb part was me asking a flight attendant where my seat number is on Southwest Airlines. And his reaction was, it's open seating. Yeah. I literally asked a flight attendant on Southwest Airlines where my seat was. Now, obviously he said, it's open seating, you can sit wherever you want. But in reality, I'm pretty sure he was thinking, why did he just ask me that question? In my defense, I forgot that Southwest Airlines functions like that. I thought it was basically you had assigned seating. Just because I flew American Airlines going to Dallas-Fort Worth, and then coming back from Dallas-Fort Worth, I flew Southwest. I literally forgot all about it. And I felt literally silly for asking that question, looking back on it. And what was worse is that I picked a window seat, and I was smushed throughout the entire plane ride. Like, everything in my body hurt after I got off the plane, or I got up from, and I didn't want to get up to go to the bathroom just because I didn't have to go. And I learned my lesson. But I picked a window seat instead of an aisle seat, and I paid the price for it by getting flattened. Well, not flattened, but I just got squished and claustrophized. That's not a real word, but I was just basically closed in. So, for my, I wouldn't say incompetence, but for my stupidity of not knowing what to do when it comes to going and coming from plane rides, I am this week's Dum Dum of the Week Award recipient, and I am proud of it.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And that, my friends, is all she wrote. This is why I don't travel. Well, this was actually my first time traveling alone, but this is why I don't really travel all that much. Just because I don't want to have to go through the hassle of having to remember my carry-on, having to go to the bathroom to make sure I don't have to go to the bathroom on the plane if I do get cramped in a window seat, or any of that sort. Like, I'm sorry, but I just think that my incompetence of not knowing what to do when it comes to boarding to and from a plane is just so embarrassing. It's like, oh my god. It's like, in my defense, when it comes to the bathroom part, I didn't want to get cramped in and then eventually say, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. Can you two get up so I can go? I didn't want to be that type of person. So my mind was in the right place, or my heart was in the right place, but my mind was clearly not. So that is going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Without any further delay, let's get on out of here, because I got me some dinner to have. You dig? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate you all tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, at any point, anywhere, I appreciate you. Even if you listen at work or in the wee hours in the morning, I really do appreciate you. One more little update on how the Sparks and Sky are doing. The Sparks are down 69 to 67, or 66, as the Sky actually went on a 6-0, or I think it was a 7-0 run to end the third quarter, which makes me very mad because the Sparks were ahead, and now they're not, and a 1 minute can just prove to be very costly. Big shout out to the chat room, Adam Karnick for mainly keeping me company, as well as David C. Crooks for popping in. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, thank you very much for listening. By the way, you have many choices to listen to the podcast, but you chose to listen to IE Sports Radio. Regardless, for everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. You all have yourself an amazing weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. You know who you are. You are incredible. You are amazing. You deserve this Mother's Day. I will see you all Monday for Set Point. We have a lot of volleyball to recap, from ranging from NBA to NCAA beach volleyball, all the way down to NCAA men's volleyball, which is happening this weekend at UCLA. So Long Beach State. Have a great rest of the night, and remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!